Okay, we'll just wait a few moments to let everybody into the room. As we've said before, all of these sessions are recorded, so if you need to come back and look at them again later on, you'll get your links through to be able to do that. Okay, we might get started if people want to catch up. If they've missed out in the early start parts of the session, they can catch up later on. So I'd like to introduce you to Philip Sen from Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity have been working in the Blue Mountains, assisting with some of the recovery efforts across the region, the Lithgow, Hawkesbury and Blue Mountains areas. So Philip will give us a bit of a chat today about things that we can do to build networking and just assist with our general individual and family preparedness. So thank you very much for being here, Philip.
Thank you, Beck, and thanks everyone for joining us. So yeah, I'm going to give you a quick overview of a new project that we're starting specifically on bushfire preparation. And just to start with, this is a wombat. So wombats, it's been said, allow other animals into their burrows during a bushfire. Wombats' burrows are quite bushfire resilience. They're able to survive the bushfires, which other animals can't. And they've actually, allowed other animals to get inside the burrow and shelter from bushfire. The reports about wombats rounding up other animals and allowing them to enter the burrows are not really true. But it just makes you think that when people want to work together, they can actually be stronger together. And that's kind of the aim of the project that I'm going to introduce today. Just a bit about Habitat for Humanity. We're an international non-governmental organisation, an international charity. And since 1976, when we were established in the USA, we've probably helped about 35 million people around the world to construct or rehabilitate or protect their homes from disasters. And theoretically, if you consider Habitat as a building organisation, it's the largest non-profit building organisation in the world. We do a lot of international programs from our office in Sydney, and we work especially with Fiji, Cambodia, Vietnam, Bangladesh and Nepal. And our vision, which is here, is a world where everyone has a safe and decent place to live, whether in Nepal or New South Wales. Our mission is to build strength, stability and self-reliance through shelter, through housing, through homes. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the programs in Australia, and we have quite a lot going on in New South Wales in particular. Over the last few years, since we've been active in New South Wales and Australia in general, we've helped people build about 220 homes, people who wouldn't otherwise have the means to build their own homes. We have a program called Brush with Kindness, whereby volunteers help to fix up and decorate people's homes who are disadvantaged, or especially domestic violence shelters for people who've experienced domestic violence. And you may have heard that over the last few years, we've been quite active in the Blue Mountains and other areas on bushfire recovery. Actually, our bushfire recovery program started about 2009 after the Black Saturday fires in Victoria. And last year alone, around 2020, we assisted 213 property owners, and about 1,000 volunteers got involved in our bushfire recovery work. What I'm going to talk about in more length is a new program that's starting out now, which is about bushfire resilience. So having worked on bushfire recovery in Blue Mountains and other areas over the last year and a half, since the 2019 to 2020 fires, there's more yet to do. So first of all, I'm just going to explain a little bit about the scope of the project, what we're trying to do and how others can get involved. And the whole idea of Habitat for Humanity, the whole way that we work, our model is through volunteers, is through people who give up a bit of their time and give up a bit of their expertise to help others. This new project is going to take place in the Greater Blue Mountains area, and by that I mean the Blue Mountains local government area, but also the Lithgow and Hawkesbury local government areas that are joining us. And we also have a parallel project going on in the Southern Highlands, by which I mean Wallumbilla and Wingecarribee local government areas. So, Bushfire Resilience. Why? Why are we doing a project about bushfire resilience? Basically, anyone who's tried to prepare their property for bushfires and other disasters, you may know it's actually really, really hard work. You can be out there in the sun, clearing vegetation by hand. You can be out there in the cold or the wet. You may have to climb ladders. You may have to haul heavy items around. And not everyone is actually able to do that. Think about your neighbours or people in the community who may be elderly, people with disabilities, people with low incomes who may not be able to afford the equipment and certainly can't afford to hire people to come and do the work for them. But even if you're not able to prepare your property, you still deserve a bit of help and support to get that done. And that's why we're starting this programme. Not everyone is able to prepare their property by themselves, but working in a team with other people, you can. So what are we trying to do? First of all, we're trying to build the community resilience to bushfires by reducing the risk in individual households and properties. When we say reduce risk, we have to acknowledge we can't completely eliminate the risk. If there are catastrophic fires, then the damage may be done. But we can certainly help households to reduce the amount of hazard that they're exposed to by doing things that the other speakers have talked about, by helping people to clear gutters, clear vegetation, cut overhanging branches, help people write an emergency plan, and so on and so forth. And very much the project that we're starting up here in the Blue Mountains will be a kind of a complement to the ADA program that was mentioned by the Rural Fire Service. We're going to target people who are otherwise unable to actually prepare their own properties, again, the elderly, people with disabilities and so on, and get working bees going with volunteers. The volunteers will come along after we've assessed the property and see what needs to be done. The team will come along fully insured and briefed up and led by a supervisor who is a qualified tradesperson with the appropriate work health and safety qualifications. And many hands will make light work. The team of volunteers will be able to get a lot more done in 1 or 2 days than many individuals could in a week or two. And that's basically how it's going to work. And we have a plan to do a lot of households through this scheme, households that we assess to be eligible for us to work with. The other side of the project is much more about community as well as individual households. It's about building the capability and the connection within people's communities. By community, I could mean not just a whole village or a township, but maybe a neighbourhood or a street that's on the bush. And again, working together, local people can help their neighbours and local people who live in those exposed areas, and actually just make the bushfire preparation much easier for each other. So again, this side of the project kind of complements existing groups and activities that are going on. I know, for example, that around Blackheath and Mount Victoria, there's a program called HUF, the Heads Up the Fire program. And similarly, the Habitat for Humanity project is going to help different communities get together if they haven't already done so, and will provide trainings, for example, how to use a chainsaw, how to identify the right kind of vegetation. There'll be workshops for people to share knowledge. There'll be systems for planning for bushfires, guidelines and so forth, and communications facilities that will help to install, such as notice boards and communication trees, so that people can actually help each other understand what's going on at any one time. So basically, this will be about helping different communities who want to take part in the program just put together that more formal infrastructure so that in the event of emergency, they've got everything they need and they're able to help each other to prepare and be more resilient. Also under this part of the project, we'll be assisting some households with preparing their individual emergency plans. Now, a number of us in the Blue Mountains, in the RFS, in the council, have just completed a training. And if you consider, people with disabilities, particularly elderly people or people with mental health, etc. problems, making a plan can be much more complex than it might be for others. For example, you'd have to consider, what would you do about your medications? If you have a wheelchair, how would you actually evacuate with a wheelchair and all of the things that are needed to run a wheelchair in the long term? What about assistance animals? What about guide dogs and so forth? So there's lots more complications that some people experience, and we will be assisting a number of people to build an emergency plan so that all of those things are taken into account. Okay, so just again to reiterate, we will be working with these neighbourhoods over the course of the next year and a half, and helping with training and planning, building guidelines and communication systems and so forth. So I just want to emphasize that the whole idea of the project that we're implementing is about local people helping local people. What Habitat for Humanity has done in the past, will continue to do so, has been very much about having volunteers drawn from anywhere. For example, we have volunteers who are based in Sydney, who'll come out to the Blue Mountains or go down to the Southern Highlands and help out. But we really, really want to build up the database of local people who want to get involved in this and help out in the local area. Later on in the presentation, I'll give you some details for how you can actually get involved and how you might be able to help your neighbours who need further support in bushfire preparation. When does it start? It's starting now. We did want to begin the project quite a bit earlier, but we were unfortunately very much delayed due to COVID, because the activities that we're thinking about all involve working face-to-face with others, working in teams. Even though it's outside, we just couldn't do anything during the recent lockdown. But now that is more or less over, we can actually begin. So the activities that we want to do, the households that we will offer some support to, we really would like to get started from November, from next month, or even next week. And they'll continue until around March 2023 or possibly longer. Who's paying for this? This is actually a government-funded project, and they've actually asked Habitat for Humanity to carry it out, since we have the expertise in volunteering. So it's under the fund that's called the Bushfire Community Recovery and Resilience Fund, and that's contributed by both the Commonwealth and the states governments. Specifically, that's the National Recovery and Resilience Agency and Resilience New South Wales. So though Habitat for Humanity is actually implementing the project, we're a non-governmental organisation, we're a charity, it's government money that's behind us and helping us to do these things. And for example, that money has gone towards a van that will soon be coming up to the mountains. And it'll have all the equipment necessary for preparing a household. We'll have the chainsaws, we'll have the tools, we'll have the drills, we'll have the hose, spades, and all those things that volunteers need to actually get to somebody's house and clear it up sufficiently to prepare it for a bushfire situation. So that's nearly all. I've done this presentation quite quickly, but I certainly invite people who are watching to send me any questions or to join in the chat right now. There's a couple of ways that you can actually learn more online. We're just about to upgrade our website, so bear with us for a few weeks. But you can still read more at habitat.org.au/bushfire program, and that'll be updated fairly soon. Anybody who really would like to volunteer and join us directly, you can go to this URL, habitatnsw.rosterfire.com.au. You can fill in your details there and actually join our volunteer roster. And when activities come up in the Blue Mountains and elsewhere, you'll be sent an email alert, and you can elect to to join in and meet up with other like-minded people who want to help out the bushfire recovery and bushfire resilience work. And on that website, you'll also be put through a work health and safety induction. Just make sure that everyone is on the same page when they come to the site. Lastly, you can look at our social media. Look out for Habitat for Humanity Australia, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, you can contact me on my email, psen@habitat.org.au, should you wish. And that's all for now. I'll just emphasise those contact details a bit more. Please do send any questions if you have them over the chat.
Thanks very much for that, Philip. Obviously, if anybody doesn't get to write those down or can't get in touch with Philip for whatever reason, feel free to get in touch with me through the Get Ready Blue Mountains, and we can get you in touch with Philip. It's a really good program that I see doing well within the mountains. It's like the networking side of things is really good, and it'll be good to see something to be able to get the volunteers back out into the workplace and out together with that networking after COVID. So thank you very much. Is there any questions? Linda has said that it sounds like an excellent program. Is there any questions from anybody in the audience out there that would like to ask of Philip before we head on to the next session? No, looks like you've covered it all perfectly well. Obviously, this is all recorded again. You can watch it again afterwards, and you will be able to get Philip's details there. It looks like it's a good program, and we're looking forward to assisting where we can as council within your program there too, Philip. So we'll be in touch, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much, Beck. And yeah, just again to people who are listening in on Zoom, look out on social media, and we'll be publicising this a little bit more as things get going. We'll definitely need a lot of volunteers who are willing and able to help out, and we're also going to be looking out for people in households who would like a bit of support as well. So yeah, just let us know. This is a new program. It's just starting up, and there's going to be a lot to do, I have no doubt.
Thanks again for coming along, Philip. And we will also promote, once you've got anything organised and up and running properly, we'll assist promoting that through our Blue Mountains communications channels as well through council. So look out for those out in the community.
Super, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. And yes, we will see everyone into the next session, which is from Tracy Burgess from Blue Mountains Wires. She's going to give us a little bit of a rundown on what we can do if we find injured wildlife, or what we can do in areas of the bush to help establish some good connections with our wildlife. There is a few minutes between now and then. If people would like to take a break and go and grab a coffee or something, feel free to do that. That will start at 2:45. Thanks very much, and thanks again, Philip.